world.
Vision Australia provides services to people who are blind or have low vision of all ages. So starting from early childhood programs. So when a family has a child, born blind or loses their sight at a young age, we have our services that we support the family and the child. And at one stage, I did some work with parents of children who were blind, and there was an automatic thing to assume by the parents that my child won't be able to do anything much because they're blind.
Education.
People still seem to encounter disadvantage and discrimination in access to education.
Being blind, it can shut a lot of doors, and it's hard to break through.
Whether that be getting access to their materials in a format they can read to do their course, or whether it be denial of certain subjects or courses because they're blind and it's considered by some that they can't do it for the sheer fact they're blind rather than their ability.
Being a legally blind photographer, it's just not heard of. So, okay, let's break the mould. With me, I'm fortunate I've got life skills behind me and education and all that sort of stuff, but a lot of people don't have that and they get left behind.
People who are older when they go blind, they've usually worked, they've had a career, they've lived life, and now they're having to readjust and rehabilitate into living a life of blindness. It's very different to when you start young with a child and you teach them skills from the beginning.
One of the key things for someone with low vision or someone with a disability, if you can get an education behind you, that will help.
We need to make sure that even from the child's parents there's an expectation of you can do rather than what you can't do.
Employment.
Unemployment for low vision or blind people is exceptionally hard.
You're looking at about 75% of vision impaired people in Australia and similar countries are unemployed.
And you have to kind of say why, and two real factors of which we came to the conclusion of. One is job readiness, like being ready, skilled, have access to the equipment that you need to do the job.
I mean, anyone can use a computer now, but trying to convince the employer that you can use a computer as good as a sighted person is really hard.
And the other is the attitudes of employers. So that's a lot about people's attitude to what you can and can't do because you're a blind person, and often assumptions that are myths, not true.
People don't see past the dog, in my case, or they don't see past the white cane and what hazards that's going to create in the office environment and all this sort of stuff.
Places like Vision Australia and other disability employment services are well aware of that, and they try to market to prospective employers that a blind person can do that job. One
of the good things that did happen when I was younger, Vision Australia had an employment section to advocate visually impaired or legally blind people into the employment. So I got some good jobs when I was younger, which was really good.
I have 4 children, one who is blind, and with what I find is, at school, the children work in McDonald's, they work in, everything to get a job and get some money. A child who's blind never had that same opportunity, so we've got to get that happening in a young age to get them that same kind of work experience.
So there's a lot of attitudinal barriers that we need to break down in the employment arena, but things are improving.
I think it will get better. I think we have laws that are in place, like the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We have the Disability Discrimination Act in Australia. So there's kind of lots of frameworks, legal frameworks, to kind of ensure change happens. But change happens over time and people need to kind of embrace it and run with it.
Directed by Joel Checkley. Interviewees: Marianne Diamond, Andrew Follows, and Ramona Manby. Produced by Belinda Ensor. Vision Australia staff: Arlene Pacheco, Ben Jessup, Emma Mulholland, Louise Zale, Marianne Diamond and Siobhan Dennis. Music: Blurry Morning Glance by Zero Bedroom Apartment. Music licensed through MusicBed. All of the images that appear in this project have been sourced from Vision Australia and the State Library of Victoria, in partnership with Museums Australia Victoria. This film was created for the Culture Victoria website, cv.vic.governor.au, with the support of the Victorian Government through Creative Victoria. A very special thank you to Vision Australia, Arts Access Victoria, and the interviewees who made this project possible.